An elderly mechanic repairs Denzel Washington's car, and a week later, Denzel stops by and is shocked when the road was quiet, too quiet for a Sunday afternoon along the Malibu coast. Denzel gripped the leather steering wheel of his restored 1969 Chevy Impala as the Pacific sun beat down, casting sharp golden streaks across the car's hood. The low rumble of the engine should have been soothing. This car was his sanctuary, a gift to himself after wrapping a grueling humanitarian documentary in Sierra Leone. But today something felt off. Before we get into the story, comment below where you are watching from today. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe. The first sign came when his GPS, mounted neatly on the dash, blinked and recalibrated mid-route. He had been heading to a friend's beach house for dinner. Instead of the usual smooth voice announcing directions, there was a brief burst of static, then a strange detour command. "Turn left on Harborview Drive," it said. Denzel frowned. That's not right. Karen, his wife, had mentioned Harborview was under construction. The device had never glitched before. Ignoring it, Denzel stayed his course, eyes flicking between the road and the digital map. But moments later, his phone, snug in the car's wireless charging dock, buzzed and cut off mid-call. "Hello? Karen? You there?" he said, tapping the Bluetooth button on the wheel. Silence, then static. He pulled the phone from the dock and checked for signal bars. 2 bars. Enough for a call to hold. He tried redialing, but the call wouldn't connect. As he placed the phone back, he caught sight of something odd on the dashboard display. The battery icon was pulsing red, even though the engine had been running for over 30 minutes. "What the hell?" he murmured. The air inside the car suddenly felt heavier. Denzel slowed, pulled over onto a gravel shoulder, and shut off the ignition. He let the car sit, staring at the steering wheel, his fingers drumming on the leather in slow, deliberate beats. He'd taken this car in for service last week at Masters Auto Shop, a small place run by an elderly man named Eli Masters. Eli had seemed competent, even warm. They'd talked about old-school engines and jazz records. Now, though, a knot of unease tightened in Denzel's gut. He restarted the car. The battery icon remained red. The GPS rebooted with a faint electronic whine. Then, out of nowhere, the speakers popped with static before fading into silence. This wasn't normal. Not for this car. Not for any car. He set his jaw and gripped the wheel harder. "All right," he muttered. "Jasmine's gonna want to look at this." Jasmine Cole's lab. The next morning, Denzel drove to a converted warehouse in East LA. Jasmine Cole was one of the smartest people he knew. A cybersecurity consultant who'd worked with major studios, NGOs, and even discreetly with law enforcement. "Something's up with my ride," he said when she met him at the door. "Phone cuts off only when I'm driving it. GPS is acting possessed. Battery drains like it's leaking." Jasmine raised a brow. "Possessed, huh? That's not very scientific. Humor me." She led him to her workspace, a cluttered but organized jungle of screens, wires, and gadgets. The Impala sat in the middle like a vintage crown jewel. "You trust the mechanic who worked on it?" she asked, popping the hood. "Eli Masters. Old-school guy. Seemed harmless." "Harmless people are the easiest to coerce," Jasmine said flatly. She pulled out a handheld device and began scanning the car's onboard systems. Denzel watched her work, his jaw tight. Every beep of her scanner ratcheted up the tension in his chest. After 10 minutes, Jasmine froze. Her screen blinked with red code. "Denzel, this isn't just a glitch." He straightened. "What is it?" She turned the screen toward him. "Your car's broadcasting. It's transmitting data to an external server every 5 minutes." Denzel's stomach dropped. "Broadcasting? Like what? Location?" "Location, audio, maybe even video. And it's not amateur tech. This is high-grade hardware, government level." Denzel's pulse thudded in his ears. "Someone planted surveillance in my car?" Jasmine nodded grimly. "It's active right now. Whoever did this is probably listening to us." Denzel stepped back, his hands curling into fists. Eli Masters' face flashed in his mind. the gentle smile, the slight tremor in his hands as he handed over the keys. And then Denzel remembered something else, Eli's eyes. Nervous, flicking to the corner of the shop when they'd spoken. Jasmine, I need to talk to that mechanic. She grabbed his arm. Be careful, Denzel. If this is government work, you're not dealing with amateurs. And if they coerced him, they'll be watching him too. I don't care. I need answers. Master's auto shop. The sun was setting when Denzel pulled into Eli Master's shop. The place looked smaller than he remembered, shrouded in shadows. The faint smell of oil and rubber filled the air. Eli was inside wiping down tools. When he saw Denzel, he froze. Mr. Washington, he said, voice tight. Didn't expect to see you again so soon. Denzel didn't waste time.
Eli.
Someone bugged my car.
Planté de surveillance.
Tell me you didn't have anything to do with it. Eli's face paled. His hands trembled, the rag falling to the floor. I didn't want to. Denzel, he whispered. I swear to God, I didn't want to. Denzel stepped closer, his voice low but sharp. Talk to me. What happened? Eli slumped onto a stool, burying his face in his hands. They came to me, 2 men, badges, said it was national security. They told me you were connected to something dangerous overseas. That's a lie. I know, Eli croaked. I knew, but they threatened my daughter. Said they'd ruin her life if I didn't help. They made me install a transmitter and mic under your dash. Denzel's stomach twisted. You've been spying on me for a week? Eli shook his head violently. I didn't want to.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to warn you. That's why I stayed late tonight. They're watching me, Denzel. I don't know how much time I have before they. A sharp sound cut through the shop, a car door slamming outside. Eli's eyes widened in terror. They're here. Wired silence. The scan and the signal. The silence in the shop was suffocating. Denzel's heart thudded in his chest as he turned his head slowly toward the door. Outside, the sound of footsteps crunched over gravel. Eli sat frozen on his stool, eyes wide and unblinking. His trembling fingers gripped the edge of the workbench so tightly his knuckles were white. Stay calm, Denzel whispered. Is there a back exit? Eli nodded slowly, his lips trembling. In the storage room. Leads to the alley. The footsteps stopped. Car engine idled outside. Then a door creaked open. Denzel moved fast, crouching low as he grabbed Eli's arm. Get up. Now. I can't, Eli stammered. They'll see us. We're dead if they. Denzel's eyes locked on his. His voice was low but sharp as a blade. Listen to me. We're not going to die here. You got me? Eli swallowed hard and nodded. Together, they slipped into the narrow storage room lined with shelves stacked with old oil cans and dusty boxes. The faint scent of mildew mixed with motor oil hung in the air. Where's the door? Denzel asked in a whisper. There. Eli pointed to a metal door partially obscured by a stack of tires. They moved as silently as possible, Denzel keeping one hand on Eli's shoulder, guiding him. A loud voice called from the shop. Masters, you hear?
Eli stiffened.
That's one of them, he whispered. Agent Hale. Denzel's jaw tightened. Keep moving. They pushed through the tires, and Eli fumbled with the lock on the door. His hands shook so badly he nearly dropped the key. Hurry up, Denzel urged. The sound of boots on concrete grew louder behind them. Masters, we know you're here. Don't make this harder than it has to be. The lock clicked open. Denzel pushed Eli through the door into the dark alley. Go. Get to my car. It's parked around the corner. Stay low. What about you? Eli asked, panic rising in his voice. I'm right behind you. Move. Eli stumbled forward, clutching his jacket tightly around him. Denzel stepped out into the alley, scanning both directions. The streetlights flickered weakly, casting long shadows on the cracked pavement. As they reached the corner, a second car engine roared to life behind them. Headlights swept across the alley. They've got us, Eli gasped. Not yet, Denzel snapped. He shoved Eli ahead and sprinted toward his car. They reached the Impala just as another vehicle turned into the alley. Denzel threw open the passenger door and pushed Eli inside before sliding behind the wheel. "Buckle up," he barked. The Impala's engine growled to life. Denzel slammed it into reverse, tires screeching against the asphalt as they backed out onto the main road. The black SUV behind them gave chase. "They're following us,"
Eli cried.
"I see them." Denzel gritted his teeth and spun the wheel hard, sending the Impala fishtailing onto a side street. The classic car's tires gripped the road as he floored the accelerator. 5 blocks later, Denzel spotted a narrow alley and swerved into it. The Impala scraped against a dumpster, but he didn't slow down. "Where are we going?" Eli panted, clutching the dashboard. "To someone who can help." 20 minutes later, they pulled into the gated lot of Jasmine Cole's tech lab. The gate slid shut behind them with a metallic clang, cutting them off from the dark street outside. "Stay in the car," Denzel ordered Eli. He jogged to the door and pounded on it. Jasmine opened it, her sharp eyes widening at the sight of him. "Denzel? What the hell?" "No time. We need help. Now." Inside, Jasmine set to work immediately. She plugged a small device into the Impala's onboard system and began scanning. The screens in her lab flickered with streams of code. Eli sat slumped in a chair, head in his hands. "They forced me," he said hoarsely. "They said it was national security. They said if I didn't do it, they'd ruin my daughter's life." Denzel stood behind him, his arms crossed, his face carved from stone. "They're transmitting data from my car," he said flatly. "Can you trace it?" Jasmine nodded, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Minutes later, she froze. "Denzel, this isn't good." "What is it?" "They're not just tracking your location. They've been listening to everything. Calls, conversations in the car, even ambient sound."
Eli groaned softly.
"I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't want to do it." Denzel's jaw tightened. "Who's listening, Jasmine?" She hesitated, then pointed to the screen. "Signals bouncing through multiple proxies. But I just pulled the original node." She turned the screen toward him. The logo of a federal agency glared back in stark white letters. Denzel felt his stomach drop. "They're government," Jasmine said quietly. "And they're still listening." "Cut the feed," Denzel said. "I'm on it." Jasmine began typing furiously, her eyes narrowing in concentration. Eli looked up, his face ashen. "They'll know," he said. "Once you kill the signal, they'll come for me. They'll come for all of us." Denzel placed a hand on the old man's shoulder. "Then we'll be ready for them." Wired silence. The confrontation. The air in Jasmine's lab felt heavier now, saturated with tension and quiet dread. The glow from her monitors threw stark light across Denzel's face, highlighting the tight lines etched around his mouth. He stood motionless, staring at the federal agency logo spinning on the screen. Eli sat in the corner, slumped, his shoulders shaking slightly as he rubbed his trembling hands together. "They're not going to let this slide," Jasmine said finally, her voice low but sharp. "Cutting the feed wasn't just a technical act, Denzel. It was a declaration. You've told them you know." "I'm not scared of them," Denzel said, his voice calm but edged with steel. "But I'm not naive either. If they were willing to do this, force an innocent man to bug my car, then they won't hesitate to clean up their mess." Eli raised his head. His eyes were glassy, and his voice cracked as he spoke. "You don't understand. These men aren't regular agents. The one who came to me, Hale, he didn't even blink when he threatened my daughter. He said if I refused, they'd plant evidence to destroy her life. Couldn't risk it."
"I'm sorry, Denzel."
"I didn't want to betray you, but I didn't know what else to do." Denzel knelt in front of him, resting a steady hand on Eli's arm.
"Eli, listen torstaime."
"I'm not angry at you. They used you. They weaponized your love for your family. That's on them, not you. But now they'll come after you," Eli whispered. "And me, and your friend here. We're all targets now." Jasmine's fingers hovered over her keyboard as her eyes flicked between Denzel and Eli. "He's right. We're in this whether we like it or not," she said. "And Denzel, you need to understand something. Whatever they're doing, they believe they're above the law. If you don't move carefully, they'll ruin you before you even know what's happening." Denzel exhaled through his nose, his mind churning. "Then we get ahead of them. I want to know why they're doing this. Why me? What's the real motive here?" Jasmine nodded slowly. "I can dig deeper, but I'll need time. And while I'm doing that, you and Eli need to stay low. Don't go home. Don't use your phones. Don't even get near anything connected to the internet." 2 hours later, they sat in the dimly lit back room of Jasmine's lab, maps and schematics spread across the table. Denzel leaned back in his chair, staring at a printed photo of Agent Connor Hale that Jasmine had pulled from a classified personnel database. Hale's face was angular and cold, with sharp eyes that seemed to pierce the camera. "That's the guy?" Denzel asked, turning the photo toward Eli. Eli flinched at the sight but nodded. "Yes, that's him. He's the one who came to the shop. He didn't act like a man doing his job. He acted like a predator." Jasmine tapped the photo.
Connor Hale.
"Mid-level operative. He's been attached to several covert units, some with black budgets that don't even show up in official records. If he's involved, this isn't just surveillance. It's part of something bigger." "Black budgets?" Denzel asked. "Operations so secret even Congress doesn't get a full report," Jasmine explained. "And those types of projects don't care about collateral damage. To them, privacy's just a technicality." Eli's voice shook as he spoke. "They told me it was about national security, that Denzel was tied up in something dangerous overseas. But it felt like a lie. They didn't act like men trying to protect the country. They acted like men trying to control someone." A sudden noise outside the lab made everyone freeze. The metallic scrape of tires on asphalt. Car door shutting. Jasmine glanced at the security feed on her monitor. "Damn it. Black SUV.
No plats.
2 men approaching." Eli's face drained of color. "It's them. They've found me." Denzel moved like lightning. "Lights out. Everyone quiet." Jasmine killed the lights and monitors with a single switch, plunging the room into darkness. Only the faint glow of her emergency screen lit their faces. "Back room. Now," Denzel ordered. He led Eli and Jasmine into a storage closet lined with server racks. The small space was suffocating, the air thick with heat and fear. Through the thin walls, they heard the lab's front door rattle, then the faint creak of hinges as it swung open. "Cole, we know you're in here," a deep voice boomed. It was smooth, almost casual, but carried the weight of authority. "That's Hale," Eli whispered, his voice barely audible. Denzel put a finger to his lips, signaling silence. "We just want to talk," Hale's voice continued. "No one has to get hurt, but if you don't come out, we'll consider that hostile." A second voice spoke, quieter but more menacing. "Search everything. Don't leave so much as a rat hole unchecked." Footsteps thudded against the concrete floor. Jasmine's breath hitched as she glanced at Denzel. He mouthed the words, "Stay calm." The footsteps grew louder, moving closer to their hiding place. Denzel clenched his fists, every muscle in his body coiled like a spring. He whispered so softly even Jasmine barely heard him. "If they open that door, I'll create a distraction. You 2 run for the back exit." "Are you crazy?" Jasmine hissed. "You won't stand a chance. Better me than all 3 of us."
Elias' lips trembled.
"This is my fault. Let me." Denzel shook his head.
No.
"You've been through enough. Let me handle this." The doorknob rattled. Then suddenly a phone rang. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the silent room. The footsteps stopped. "Stand down," Hale barked. "We're pulling out." Denzel frowned, listening as the voices retreated and the front door slammed shut. For a moment, there was only silence. Then Jasmine exhaled slowly. "They're gone. For now," Denzel said grimly. 10 minutes later, they emerged cautiously. The lab was intact, but a folded note lay on the center table where Hale had been. Denzel picked it up. It read in neat, block letters. You're in over your head. Walk away, Washington. Last warning. He crumpled the note in his fist. They want a war? Fine. Let's give them one. Wired silence. The shadow of the state. The crumpled note still felt hot in Denzel's palm as he stood there, staring at it like it was a fuse burning toward a stick of dynamite. Jasmine paced behind him, her boots clicking softly on the concrete floor. Eli hadn't moved since they'd emerged from the storage room. His breathing was shallow, his eyes darting toward every sound outside. They know everything now, Jasmine said, her voice tight. They know we're aware of them. The fact that Hale left that note means one thing. They're trying to scare you into submission before they escalate. Denzel turned the note over in his hand. Walk away, Washington. He read aloud, his tone heavy with controlled fury. They don't understand me at all if they think I'm the kind of man who walks away. Eli rubbed his trembling hands over his face. Maybe you should, he said, his voice barely audible. These people aren't playing games. I've seen the look in their eyes. Hale doesn't bluff. Denzel knelt down in front of Eli, gripping his shoulders. Eli, look at me. The old man's bloodshot eyes met his. I don't blame you for what happened, but you can't let fear paralyze you now. They want us scared. That's their leverage. We don't give it to them. But what can we do against men like this?
Eli whispered.
They own the system. They can make us disappear without a trace. Denzel stood and looked at Jasmine. Tell me you've got something we can use against them. Jasmine hesitated, then moved to her desk and pulled up a series of files on her monitor. I've been digging into Hale's background, she said. He's involved in multiple classified operations. Most of them are buried under layers of red tape and proxies. But there's a pattern. She tapped her screen, bringing up a timeline of covert projects. Every operation he's touched in the last 5 years involves high-profile civilians, politicians, activists, even celebrities, who were later discredited or ruined by leaked scandals. Denzel frowned. You're saying this isn't about national security. I'm saying this looks like a domestic containment program, Jasmine replied. They target people with influence, people who could disrupt the narrative. Eli's voice cracked. So they were using me to take you down? Denzel's jaw tightened. They used you because you were convenient. But this isn't about you, Eli. It's about control. Hours passed. The group stayed in the lab, lights dimmed, as Jasmine continued her work. She isolated fragments of intercepted data from the bug planted in Denzel's car. The files were encrypted, but some of the metadata was still visible. Jasmine pointed to the screen. Here, look at this. These are logs from the transmitter they planted. It's not just tracking your location. It was recording private conversations, calls with Karen, meetings with your humanitarian partners, even things you said to yourself in the car. Jesus, Denzel muttered under his breath. Worse, Jasmine continued. They were cross-referencing your movements with the locations of other public figures. It's like they're building a map of your network. Denzel stepped back, his hands curling into fists. They're not just eavesdropping. They're profiling me, trying to figure out how I operate, who I talk to, and how to break me. Jasmine nodded grimly. They'll look for weaknesses, and once they find them, they'll exploit them. Eli swallowed hard. What do we do now? We can't stay here forever. They'll come back. That night, the sound of Karen's voice came through Denzel's phone for the first time in hours. Where are you? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. I'm safe, Denzel said softly. But I can't come home yet. Not until I've handled this. Denzel, they came by the house earlier, Karen whispered. 2 men in suits. Said they were from a federal agency and wanted to ask you some questions. When I told them you weren't home, they asked about your travel plans. They scared me. Denzel closed his eyes, his chest tightening. I need you to pack a bag and stay with your sister for a few days, he said. Don't tell anyone where you're going, not even our closest friends. And leave your phone behind. Take hers instead. Karen hesitated. What's going on? Are we in danger? Yes, Denzel said bluntly. But I'll fix this. I promise. As the call ended, Jasmine looked at him. You're putting your wife in hiding. That's a smart move. But you realize they'll see it as an escalation. They've already escalated, Denzel replied coldly. I'm just responding in kind. The next morning, Denzel and Jasmine devised a plan. We can't let them control the narrative, Jasmine said. If we go to the media now without proof, they'll bury the story. They'll paint you as paranoid or unstable. We need hard evidence of their illegal surveillance and coercion tactics. I can help, Eli said suddenly. Denzel turned to him. Eli, you've done enough. You don't owe me anything. Yes, I do, Eli said firmly. I was the one who installed the bug. I know how it was done. I know their process. I can be your witness. Denzel studied the old man's lined face and saw no trace of hesitation. You sure about this?
Eli nodded.
If I don't stand up now, I'll never forgive myself. Later that day, Jasmine intercepted a communication from Hale's team. She played the audio clip over the speakers. Washington's moving. If he doesn't cooperate, we'll release the Sierra Leone file. That should be enough to bring him in line. Denzel's blood ran cold. Sierra Leone? He asked. Jasmine nodded. They're talking about the humanitarian project you worked on. They've probably got doctored evidence or misrepresented data ready to smear you with. They're going after my life's work, Denzel said through clenched teeth. This isn't about me anymore. It's about everyone I've worked to protect. As night fell, the group gathered around the lab's table, maps and digital schematics scattered across its surface. We're going to take the fight to them, Denzel said. They've spent the last week listening to me. Now it's my turn to listen to them. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. You're suggesting we infiltrate their system? Exactly, Denzel replied. You've got the skills. I've got the motive. And Eli's got the knowledge of how they planted the bug in the first place. Eli sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. This is dangerous. They won't hesitate to shut us down if they catch even a whiff of what we're doing. They'll have to catch us first, Denzel said, his eyes cold and unflinching. Wired silence. The threat. The morning was quiet, but it wasn't the comforting quiet of peace. It was the thick, suffocating quiet of a predator watching its prey. Inside Jasmine's lab, the tension was unbearable. The soft hum of her servers and monitors did nothing to ease the sense that every second ticking by brought them closer to being found. Denzel stood by the reinforced glass window, staring at the empty street beyond the security gate. He couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on him. Even with Jasmine's systems shielding them from digital detection, he knew these men weren't reliant on tech alone. They had old-fashioned methods too. Karen's words from the night before still echoed in his mind. The fear in her voice when she said the men in suits had come to their home, it had ignited something in him. Not just anger, a cold, focused determination. Jasmine, he said suddenly, his voice breaking the silence. How long until you can get into their system? She didn't look up from her monitor, her fingers flying over the keys. Assuming their firewall is military grade and it will be maybe 48 hours. But that's if we're not interrupted. They'll give us less than 24, Denzel said flatly. Eli sat slumped in a chair, his head in his hands. His usually steady voice was raw from fear and exhaustion. You don't know them like I do, he whispered. Hale, he won't wait. The man's a shark. If he thinks you're a threat, he'll act fast. Denzel turned to face him, his expression calm but unyielding. Then let him come. I'm tired of waiting for their next move. Jasmine sighed and pushed her chair back. You want them to make a mistake? Because that's the only way we're going to get leverage. Exactly, Denzel said. We let Hale think he's still in control. Give him just enough rope to hang himself. The plan was simple but dangerous. Denzel would reach out to Hale directly. A controlled provocation. Enough to make the agent overplay his hand. Meanwhile, Jasmine would trace any incoming communication back to its source and dig for proof of illegal surveillance. It didn't take long. An hour later, Denzel's burner phone vibrated on the table. The number flashing on the screen wasn't one he recognized. But he didn't need to. "They're biting," Jasmine said quietly. Denzel answered. "Washington," Hale's voice drawled. Calm. Measured. But under the surface there was steel. "You're becoming quite the nuisance. I gave you a warning. You should have taken it." Denzel kept his tone even, almost bored. "And you should have stayed out of my life." There was a pause on the line. Then Hale's voice dropped to a cold whisper. "You think this is a game? You think because you're a celebrity you're untouchable? Let me explain how this works. You don't get to dictate terms. You don't even get to walk away anymore." "I'm listening," Denzel said. "You're going to drive to the address I send you. Alone."
No tricks. No tal.
"If you don't, we release the Sierra Leone file. Every dirty little secret your humanitarian projects have buried. The world will see it all." "Do what you have to do," Denzel replied. "I'll do what's necessary too." The line went dead. Eli looked up, his face pale. "He's going to kill you, Denzel. You show up there, you won't walk out." "I'm not showing up there," Denzel said. "But Hale doesn't know that yet." Jasmine smirked faintly as she worked at her console. "While you two were talking, I traced the signal. It wasn't a normal call. It was piggybacking on a secure satellite link. That alone is enough to raise questions if we can leak it to the right people." "But we need more," Denzel said. "We need proof that Hale's team planted that bug in my car. Proof that they've done this before. Otherwise, it's just my word against theirs."
Eli hesitated.
"There's a warehouse," he said finally, "about 20 miles east of here. When they forced me to install the transmitter, they gave me the equipment there. It's where they operate from." Jasmine's fingers froze mid-keystroke. "Are you saying they're running a black site?" "Yes," Eli said softly. "At least it looked like one.
No markings. No sign.
Just armed men and boxes of surveillance gear." Denzel's expression hardened. "Then that's where we go next." That night, they left Jasmine's lab under cover of darkness. Jasmine drove, her SUV moving steadily through the side streets and back roads. Denzel sat in the passenger seat, scanning the road ahead, every shadow a potential threat. Eli huddled in the back seat, silent, clutching a small duffel bag like it was a lifeline. They didn't speak much. The tension in the car didn't allow it. After an hour, Jasmine pulled off the road into a wooded area overlooking a sprawling industrial complex. "That's it," Eli whispered, pointing through the trees. "That's where they brought me." Denzel peered through binoculars. The warehouse was surrounded by a high chain-link fence topped with razor wire. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter. "Looks like a fortress," Jasmine murmured. "They'll have cameras on every angle," Denzel said. "We're not getting close without them knowing." "Then we don't get close," Jasmine said. "We get creative." Back at the lab, Jasmine set to work on a plan. "If I can spoof the signal from Hale's warehouse, I might be able to intercept their data in real time. But I'll need a clear line of sight to one of their satellite dishes." Denzel rubbed his chin, thinking. "Eli, could you get us inside?" The old man shook his head. "Not without being seen. But there's a drainage tunnel. I remember one of the guards mentioning it. Leads straight into the basement." Denzel looked at Jasmine. "Then that's how we get your line of sight." The next day, just after sunset, they made their move. Denzel and Eli moved silently through the drainage tunnel, the air thick with the stench of mildew and rot. Every step echoed, and every echo felt like a beacon calling their enemies. When they reached the basement, Denzel peeked through a grate and saw racks of servers and boxes labeled with government codes. "Jasmine's right," he whispered. "This is their hub." Eli's voice was a thin rasp. "I'm so sorry I ever agreed to help them." "You're helping me now," Denzel said. "That's what matters." Above them, the faint sound of boots on concrete made them freeze. 2 guards passed by, their voices muffled. "Hale's orders. If Washington shows his face, he doesn't leave breathing." Denzel's jaw tightened. This wasn't just about control anymore. It was about survival. Wired silence. The escape plan. The night air was thick and heavy as Denzel crouched at the edge of the drainage tunnel, listening for any sound above. The dim orange glow of security lights cut through the shadows, casting long, jagged shapes along the cracked concrete walls. Every breath he took felt like it echoed. Behind him, Eli pressed his back to the cold stone, clutching his jacket tightly as if it could shield him from the danger they were courting. Denzel turned his head slightly, his voice barely above a whisper. "We stay low. Once Jasmine gets the signal, we get out of here fast."
Ellie nodded shakily.
"She said she only needs 5 minutes, right?" "That's the plan," Denzel said. "But plans don't mean much if they spot us before then." An hour earlier, Jasmine had parked the SUV in a small clearing half a mile from the warehouse's perimeter. Inside, the group had hashed out the final details of their high-stakes maneuver. "You two will get me visual access to one of their satellite dishes," Jasmine said as she checked the drone's battery life. "Once I get in their system, I'll pull everything I can, communication logs, surveillance files, orders, and broadcast it to multiple independent journalists at once." "That's going to make them desperate," Denzel said. "It's going to make them sloppy," Jasmine corrected. "And if they're sloppy, they'll leave proof they can't bury." Eli fidgeted with the cuff of his sleeve. "Once we're inside, what if they catch us?" Denzel fixed him with a steady gaze.